For this pattern you will need a 9mm hook and Lion brand Vanna's Choice in white and scarlet. Let's make the snowflake granny square first. So you begin with white and we will make a magic ring, also called a sliding loop. And now we start with the chain 3 and this counts as a double crochet, and we make 2 double crochets into the ring, and now we chain 1. So this is the beginning of the snowflake is very similar to the beginning of a granny square, which you might be familiar with. So it's 4 clusters of 3 double crochets separated by chain 1s in the corner. So this is our chain 1, and now we make another 3 double crochets into the ring, another chain 1, so our second chain 1, and our another cluster of 3 double crochets into the ring, another chain 1, and our final cluster of 3 double crochets into the ring. So now we have our 4 clusters. Our ring is still loose, and we make a final chain 1 and we join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3. So this stitch belongs to this double crochet, and this V at the top belongs to this double crochet, and our top of chain 3 is this. So I typically I insert the hook through both loops to do that. So I find the both loops that form the V at the top of chain 3, and I pick up the yarn and bring it up and through the initial loop to make my slip stitch. And now I can remove the hook from the loop so that I can go back and close the ring. It's easier to do it from behind. So just pull the loose yarn tail as much as you can so that this gap completely closes over. And now you, at the end of round 1, you have 4 clusters of 3 double crochets and 4 chain 1 spaces in the corners. So round 2 is also white. So straight away we go into making loops of chain 6. So straight away we go into making chain 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this round will be a series of loops. So above every 3 daisy cluster we'll have a chain 6 loop. So now in the next space we're making a slip stitch and another chain 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and in the same space we go back and make a slip stitch, and we're finished with this space. So above every cluster we'll make a chain 6, and above every space we'll also make a chain 6 with slip stitches in between each chain 6. So now to go forward we need to make chain 6, and in this next space we need to make slip stitch, chain 6, and slip stitch. So we are beginning to form a kind of flower shape. So we need to go all the way around. So make chain 6, and in the next space make slip stitch, chain 6, and slip stitch. Again we see a 3 daisy cluster, we make chain 6, And in this last space we make slip stitch, chain 6 and slip stitch. So it looks like this, our second round, and we end it with a slip stitch in this last space. So our next round is red. So we'll be changing color. So you have two choices. You can fasten off right now, and you can then, so say if I fasten off, I'll just pretend that I did, and then I would join your yarn. So make a slip knot on your hook, and then with a slip knot on your hook, insert the hook into the space where you finished. So you will need to fold this chain 6 loop downwards towards you in order to access this chain 1 space from 2 rounds ago, and then insert your hook in that space and take your tail and tuck it behind, and then take your long tail that you're working with and position it on your finger so you can yarn over and grab that yarn and pull it up and through the slip knots on your hook. So this way, if you had fastened off here, you would have a tail here and a tail here. But I do prefer continuing from exactly the same stitch when I change my color. So for the round 3, we need to work into the same space where we ended, and we need to access this chain 1 space. But to do that, we need to fold this chain 6 towards us and downwards towards us, and then insert the hook in between the beginning and the end of the chain 6 through that space. And at this point we need to make a slip stitch, but we also need to change the color. So I will cut off this tail and pick up new color. I need it to be red, and I will pick up red in order to complete my slip stitch. And now I can go back and pull the white from behind so that it's all a bit tighter. So at this point I have joined new color and I've made my slip stitch, which is the first stitch in our round 3. Now we need to make a chain 3, and this counts as a double crochet. And while still this loop is folded down towards us so we can access this space, we make, now this is very similar, this is a granny square, but with these loops are in the way. So all we're doing is we're folding them down, but everything else is the same as what your next round in a granny square would look like. So if this is your corner, normally what you would do in a granny square, you would make 3DC, chain 1 and 3DC, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So because this counts as a double crochet, we make another 2 double crochets in the same space, and then chain 1 and 3 double crochets in the same space. This is our corner. Next we ignore the chain 6 loop here above the 3DC cluster, and we look at our next space, our next chain 1 space from 2 rounds ago, our next chain 1 space, and we have this loop, so we need to fold it down towards us in order to access this space. And now we make 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets in this space while crocheting in between both ends of the chain 1. So we're traveling around our granny square and we made 2 corners. Now again we ignore this chain 6 loop and we look at our next space and we fold down the chain 6 downwards towards us and we access this chain 1 space this way. So we make 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets in this space. So this is our third corner complete. We have one last corner left and we need to fold down the chain 6 downwards towards us and make between the beginning and the end of the chain 6 make 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets. So we've traveled all the way around the square and now all we need to do is join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3. So again, this is the V from this post, this is the V from this post, and our top of chain 3 will be these 2 loops. So I will insert my hook through both loops and end with a slip stitch. So what we have here is these loops and we managed to crochet behind them. But now finally we'll tidy them up and we'll crochet over them in this round. So round 4 is still red and starting from the space where we're at, we see that we have this chain 6 loop below us. So we need to make a slip stitch in the same space, but while doing so, we need to crochet over this chain 6 loop. And we hooked it into place. And now chain 3. And all you need to do is make 2 more posts in the same space while crocheting over the chain 6. We made our first cluster. Now we need to crochet into this corner space, and as with a usual granny square, in the corner space we need to make 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets, but we will crochet over the chain 6 loop again. So every time we crochet into a space in this round, we'll be picking up that loop from below and crocheting over it. Our corner 3DC, chain 1 and 3DC. Now the next space is the space between the corners, and we just need to make 3DC in that space, and don't forget to crochet over your chain 6 loop. So we'll just crocheting around just like a normal granny square, but with a slight modification. So finally, when you've completed your last corner, you can join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3 and fasten off. And after you've completed your first square, when you make your second square, you can join with your first square, and I'll show you how. So these are some of the squares I've made earlier as when I was practicing the pattern. And what you need to do is when you make your second square, leave one full side undone, not finished, and only make the first 3 double crochets into the corner and remove your hook from the loop. Then take your square that you're joining with and look at the corner space, the chain 1 corner space, insert your hook front to back through that corner space and pick up the loose loop, pull it up and chain 1. Now complete this corner with making 3 more double crochets in the corner. And every time you make a cluster, remove your hook from the loop and go into the square you're joining with and have a look, find the next space along in between the clusters and insert your hook front to back through that space and pick up the loose loop and chain 1. Again, continue as usual with your pattern. So now you need to make 3 double crochets in the next space while crocheting over the chain 6 loop. And again, remove the hook from the loop and insert the hook through the next space of the square you're joining with. Bring up the loop and chain 1. And this is how you join. And when you join the last corner, make your first cluster in the corner, remove your hook from the loop and insert the hook through the corner space. So this is the last time you're joining with this first square, and then bring up the loop and chain 1 and make the final 3 double crochets in the corner. And join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3 and fasten off. So this is what it looks like when you join the 2 squares together. So join 4 squares together, and then when you make your 5th square, leave 2 opposite sides undone. So just make it make the last round of the 5th square just a little bit, and then you can start joining your last square in the middle here like this. So just like before, we'll join in the corner. forget to crochet over the chain 6 loop from below. And when you've joined the second corner, complete this side at the top. And when you make half of the corner here, you are ready to join with the other side. Once you've joined your squares together into a circle, now we can add 3 rows of ribbing on one side. So let's join new yarn. So I'm leaving a tail and I'm making a slip knot on my hook. And pick any stitch to insert your hook in. So let's say this, and tuck your tail behind and bring this yarn into position, rest it on your finger and yarn over and pull through the fabric and the slip knot. Now we make chain 3, which counts as our double crochet, and our task is to make a double crochet in every stitch in this first row. So there is a chain 3 coming from this stitch, and now we just make a double crochet in the next stitch in every stitch. When you come to the point where 2 squares are joined together and you've made your double crochet in the third of the double crochet in the granny cluster, now you have these spaces, and we should make a double crochet in such spaces. So one here, one here, and then again we resume making double crochet for every stitch. So here's our first double crochet in the granny cluster, and we're making double crochet there. I've made the last double crochet in the last stitch just before the chain 3, and now we join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3, and this is our first row finished. So the first row is a row of double crochets. Now for the second row I will chain 2, and I will skip the first post, which is the chain 3 below me. I will do nothing to it, but with the next post I will make a double crochet, a front post double crochet around it. So yarn over and insert the hook like so, and pull the yarn it's a double crochet, but it's wrapped around that post. And now for the next post, I will make a back post double crochet. So insert your hook from behind, wrap your hook around, and finish the double crochet. So front post, back post, front post, back post, and that's your task for this row. Front post, back post, all the way around. So now I've traveled all the way around and I've made my last stitch around this post just before the chain 3, and this happened to be a back post double crochet. And now I can see my chain 2, and I just need to, so again we do nothing to the chain 3 below, so we just join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 2 to end this round. And to make my third ribbing round, I will again chain 2. So it's basically a repeat of row 2, except that we need to make sure that we match the front post to the front post and the back post to the back post. So we do nothing to the chain 2 from below, and this is our front post ridge because it's sticking out. So we make sure we make a front post double crochet around every ridge that's sticking out towards us, and a back post double crochet around every ridge that's away from us to continue growing these ridges taller. We're again with at the end of this round, and we just join with a slip stitch to the top of this chain 2 and fasten off. For the hat, make 3 rows of ribbing at the bottom and 8 rows of ribbing at the top. And when you fasten off, leave a longer tail, say 18 inches, because you will use that tail to close the opening. And so just take a yarn needle and thread it with the yarn tail, and we will weave this thread through the back loops of approximately every second stitch. So up, down and up, and down and up and down, like so, and keep going all the way around, and then pull this yarn and close the opening and make yourself a large pom-pom. It's about 4.8 inches wide, and just attach it to the top of your hat.